There's a lot of talk around the quarterback position for the Minnesota Vikings, and we have some brand new Vikings quarterback targets that just emerged from this NFL insider, Benjamin Solak. He was talking in a recent ESPN article and listed 3 guys that the Vikings could potentially target, but he also had this quote on what he thinks Kevin O'Connell could do. He said, "I would not be surprised if Kevin O'Connell wants to go for a younger player to challenge J.J. McCarthy's seat, not just in 2026, but also beyond." So he thinks they're going to go in a direction where it's not the veteran backup quarterback option like the Kirk Cousins, like the Joe Flacco, like the Gardner Minshew's, the Marcus Mariotas of the world. But he thinks these 3 guys could potentially be options. Tanner Mckee, backup quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, still on his rookie deal. Anthony Richardson with the Indianapolis Colts. And then Will Levis of the Tennessee Titans. So we'll dive into all 3 of these guys on today's show. But if you guys could, hit that subscribe button. Our bosses challenged us here at Chat Sports to pick up 50 subs on a video, and we're actually doing a challenge on who can pick up the most subs on a video this week. So if you guys want to help me out, help grow this family here on Vikings Now, hit that subscribe button today and help us reach 70,000 subs here on YouTube. All right, let's talk about the first option here, that being Tanner Mckee, backup quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Tanner Mckee, big body, 6'6", has a really good frame on him, has a pretty decent arm, and he has actually played a lot of good football in the preseason for Philadelphia. He's very accurate with the ball. He can get the ball out on quick, on time, and can be extremely accurate. But in 2023, his preseason, 39-72 for 457 and a touchdown. Not as good in 2024, 34-56 for 294 and 1 pick. But this past year in one preseason game, he was fantastic. 20-25, 252 yards and 2 tuds. Now, he was asked to play in Week 18 this past season for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was 21 of 40 for 52.5% completion percentage, and he had 1 touchdown, 1 pick, no rushing ability, and had a QBR of 22.2. Keep in mind, this was the same defense that J.J. McCarthy lit up just a couple of weeks prior. So, I was talking to Chase Senior, Eagles Now host here, and he said they would probably ask for a 3rd-round pick, and if that's the asking price for Mckee, I'm probably out on him. I think you go find a better option for a 3rd-round pick. Might as well just trade that for a Kyler Murray, or go trade that, on top of a 2nd for a guy like Mac Jones. So the Tanner Mckee talk, I don't really get it. I mean, I understand a lot of Eagles fans are high on this guy. They think he's a high-end backup, and he is, but I just don't think he makes too much sense for the Vikings in terms of them finding a solution for this quarterback problem in Minnesota. But a polarizing guy here, Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson, obviously the former 4th overall pick out of Florida. The Colts took a chance on him. Didn't end up working out. He ended up getting beat out by Daniel Jones this past season for their QB1 spot. Now, obviously, we all know KOC, big fan. Big fan of Anthony Richardson. He had this after the game. It's just 2 years ago on a Sunday night. This was the first game that Anthony Richardson was benched for Joe Flacco. He came up to him after the game, and he said, "You're a bad dude." And he said, "Yes, sir." But it's not only that. We have known Kevin O'Connell really is high on Anthony Richardson for a while, because Brett Coleman reporting this. I don't think people realize how hard the Vikings tried to trade up for Anthony Richardson last year. Like, the haul that they put on the table was massive. They were going to give away the entire farm, all of it. They were going to give everything. But it takes 2 to tango. Their trade partner, that they were going to be too good, or thought that they were going to be too good, so they went elsewhere. So people thought the Vikings were going to be too good with Anthony Richardson, didn't really value the 1st-round draft capital. And I will say, I wouldn't hate a quarterback room of Anthony Richardson and J.J. McCarthy. Maybe St. Patrick, that's absolutely ludicrous. Both those guys have not proven anything so far in the NFL, and that is very true. They also both have a bunch of injuries so far in their NFL playing careers, but they also both show tremendous upside. They both have extremely talented arms. Richardson is obviously extremely mobile and extremely athletic, and the same could be said about J.J. McCarthy. So I like the idea of the Vikings almost just shooting darts at a board, and hopefully one of them lands. Where if just one of Anthony Richardson or J.J. McCarthy can stay healthy, develop into a really good quarterback, you potentially have your franchise guy. So obviously it's not my ideal situation in the quarterback room, but I wouldn't hate a 1-2 punch of Anthony Richardson and J.J. McCarthy. Now, obviously, Richardson so far throughout his NFL career has not been great. 8 touchdowns to 12 picks back in 2024. He had 19 big-time throws to 15 turnover-worthy play throws. So very similar to the year to what J.J. McCarthy just had back in 2025. Adjusting completion percentage, absolutely horrific. And same in 2023 season. A little more accurate, but still just wasn't that good of a quarterback at the NFL level. And I will say, Richardson, like, he would be a fun watch. I mean, preseason games for the Vikings with him and J.J. McCarthy would be absolutely electric. And he would be, a polarizing backup option. Like, he's not a guy in there where you feel very confident going out and playing a clean game to potentially help this team get a win. But if KOC wants to go big or go home, like, Richardson does make some sense. So you guys let me know. What say you on this one? Would you trade for Anthony Richardson? Give me a T for trade. Give me a P for pass. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. If it takes like a 6th, 7th round pick swap, I would do it. But again, this is like the break glass in case of emergency option for the Vikings. So you guys chime in down below. Let me know your thoughts on Anthony Richardson. All right, dive into the last option, Will Levis, here in just a second. But let me tell you guys about today's sponsor, and that is Factor Meals. Now, if you guys could, head to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off and use promo code VikingsChat50 off to get hooked up with 50% off your first Factor box, plus free breakfast for 1 whole year. Now, if you guys want to eat better, but you have zero time and zero energy to make it happen, Factor doesn't ask you to meal prep or file recipes. It just removes the entire problem. 2 minutes, real food, done. Factor is already made by chefs, designed by dietitians, and delivered to your door. You heat it for 2 minutes and eat. It's that simple. And I love Factor because they have no refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and no refined seed oils. And they also have over 100 rotating meals every single week that include high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean, GLP-1 support, and ready-to-eat salads. So head on over to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off. Use promo code VikingsChat50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box, plus free breakfast for 1 year. This offer is only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. All right, the last one we'll talk about here is Will Levis. Will Levis, I know, the Mayo man. He puts mayo in his coffee, one of the weirder things I think I've seen anybody ever do. But Kevin O'Connell is big on Will Levis. The Vikings, I remember that draft night, right before the draft started, the Vikings were the overwhelming favorite to draft Will Levis. And I thought the pick that they ended up taking Jordan Addison at number 23 in the first round, I thought that was potentially going to be towards Will Levis. There was talks about the Vikings trading up for Will Levis potentially, and it makes sense. Like, this is the archetype of quarterback that Kevin O'Connell likes. And you guys might be saying, why the hell would we want Will Levis? This guy's been terrible, and he has been bad. But again, he falls in the bucket of these quarterbacks that have a lot of talent but haven't worked out with their bad organizations. Like the Tennessee Titans from 2023 to 2024 were one of the worst teams in the National Football League. We just saw Cam Ward struggle with them back in 2025. And yes, 13 touchdowns, 12 picks, and a 2-9 record. Nothing to write home about. There's really nothing to write home about, especially if you turn on the film for Will Levis. But he does have a big-time arm. He can make some elite throws. The boneheaded plays are definitely a major concern. But this is the type of reclamation project that fits what Kevin O'Connell wants to do. Like, hey, big-time arm. You struggle with turning the ball over. Kind of sounds like Sam Darnold. Like, did he have the draft pedigree that Darnold had? No, absolutely not. But he does fit into that same bucket where it's like, hey, if you just believe that organization failed Will Levis more than Will Levis failed that organization, he does fall into that bucket. But overall, I am out on all these options. Like, yes, I would have some interest in Anthony Richardson, but none of these guys are really changing life here in Minnesota. So overall, I'm out on them. And just where I kind of have my Vikings quarterback rankings heading into next season, just so get this take out there so it's crystal clear. Number 1, Joe Burrow no matter what. Whatever it takes to trade for Joe Burrow, I think the Vikings should do it. And then Kyler Murray would be number 2. I believe in the talent he has. This guy was the number 1 pick for a reason. I think the Cardinals organization is just a dumpster fire. I think if you bring him to Minnesota, we would see his best football. But if you can't land either of these two, the BQB1 for next season, ride it out with J.J. McCarthy. Just see what you got in him. It's a crazy concept, but a guy can develop. Like, a guy can get better throughout the offseason. So if it's not Burrow, if it's not Kyler, just stick with number 9 and stick with J.J. McCarthy. Now, if you guys made it to the end of today's show, hit me those skulls down below in the comments section. Shout out to all the real ones for watching this entire thing. We'll get on out of here. As always, Skol Vikes.